So in this tutorial, we'll be covering the basic of animation in Adobe After Effects. Now, first thing first, before we start, you have to understand that when it comes to animation in After Effects, each layer must be animated separately, okay? So for example, right here, we have this illustration. If we want to animate the butterfly, it has to be in its own layer. If we want to animate the wings of the butterfly, they have to be on their own layer as well. Same thing goes for everything, okay? And how you do that is that you do that in Illustrator, all right? You put everything that you want to animate individually in its own layer, then you export to After Effects. So in this case, we have the background and we have the butterfly, okay? So we're just going to be animating the butterfly, and this should give you an idea if you want to go ahead and animate anything else. So first thing first, click on here, and then transform. And then right here, you can find the parameters that you can use to animate. So first thing, you have the position, the scale, rotation, and opacity. Now let's start with the rotation, because we want the butterfly to appear into the illustration. So the most important thing in animation, of course, is the keyframes. So if I click on a stopwatch, it will add a keyframe. Now I'm going to move the stopwatch to 20 frames a second. Now right here, what I'm going to do is I can either drag from here, all right, to bring the butterfly down, or the way I prefer to do it is just click here on the middle of this anchor points, drag down, hold shifts, and then drag the butterfly away or beneath the composition. The second rule of animation is the keyframe velocity, which means if I click on space right now, we're going to play the animation, and you can see that it's pretty much generic, okay? So to make it less generic, what we can do is apply ease-ins, all right? So you can either select both frames like this, or you can just click on position, and you will have all the keyframes selected. And then right-click here, keyframe assistance, and then you want to go with easy ease, all right? Now, if I click on play, you can see that it's more interesting. All right, the third most important thing, of course, is the speed graph or the graph editor. All right, so let's say, for example, for right here, we have a normal easy ease. All right, if you want the animation to start fast and end up slowly, we can drag this handle to the left like this. And now you can see that it's going to start super fast and then slows down toward the end of the animation. And you can see that now it makes for a more dynamic, natural movement. All right. Next thing, we can, of course, animate the scale. So for example, right here, I'm going to go to scale, add a keyframe by clicking on stopwatch. Same thing, bring this keyframe here. All right, because we want the animation to go back to its original states. This is why we're doing it this way. And now let's make the vector a bit smaller, for example, 80. And same thing, we're going to go ahead and press on F9 to add the ease-ins. Now you can see it's a little bit better, a little bit more dynamic. The next thing I want to talk about, of course, is this line that you see right here. This one right here. So this is called the path of motion or the motion path. And basically, this is the path of your animation. What you can do, of course, for this path to make it more interesting is that let's go ahead and select the pen tool. And for example, if we click here, we can adjust or curve the path a little bit like this and do something similar here. And now we have like an S-curve for our animation, which may be more interesting than a normal path. All right, and finally what we can do, of course, so let's select the background, and I can click on T for opacity, add a keyframe here, same thing, drag this one here, And then down here, let's make it a little bit darker. Same thing, apply easings. This time, I want it to start slow and end fast. So we'll adjust, whoopsie, we'll adjust the speed graph this way. Click on play. And there you have it. Right, and finally, one more thing in animation is that the distance between the keyframe matters as well. So for example, right here we have the distance between each keyframe is 20 frames. If I go ahead, for example, and make it 10 frames, you can see that the animation will happen much faster, right? So it's a good tip to always include the distance between the keyframes when you are animating in Adobe After Effects. Now, this is just a tutorial for beginners. If you want more advanced courses, of course, you can check my courses on Skillshare or Udemy, where I have more advanced logo animation courses and others that I'm going to be adding very soon. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.